state highway. The forward pushed back.
That's what I heard it was.
Okay.
We are live.
All right. It's now 7 o'clock. I hereby call the July 12th, 2023 meeting of the Frostburg Planning Commission to order. We will start our meeting with a roll call of members present.
Adam Ritchie.
Eric Stevens.
Conrad Best.
Jeff Snyder.
Ray Race.
Okay, we have a quorum. As we begin, I would ask that anyone presenting business before the commission or individuals who want to comment on business before the commission or other concerns, please come forward to the podium at the appropriate time. State your name and address for the record. Each meeting is recorded, so please speak loudly and clearly. First item on the agenda is the minutes of the May 2023 meeting. And you each have a copy in there. Jeff, it's going to be between you and Eric. 'Cause the other two guys are not
All
here.
right.
We're not here, so
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes the way they're presented.
I have a motion to accept. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and second that we accept the minutes from the May 10th, 2023 meeting. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Okay. Now it's time for citizens from the floor, and I take it that each of you are presenting things, so you're not citizens from the floor. Okay, we'll go on now. All right, the first presentation is the, and I'll butcher that, so I won't even mention the name, Biological Waste Disposal Services. So whoever's going to present, please come forward.
Good evening and thank you. My name is Charles Watts. I'm with Clym Environmental Services. We're at 1539 Tilco Drive, Frederick, Maryland, 21704. So we've got a PowerPoint presentation I'm going to attempt to walk you through this evening to describe a little bit about what's got us excited at Clym. So we are here to request a special exception for the zoning at a piece of property that we're looking at in conjunction with our friends at the Business Development Center for the county. And I want to tell you a little bit about our plans for this property and why it is that we think an exception is applicable to this property. So if I can give you the wink and let you know what that means, you can click ahead, you may click ahead. Thank you very much. So first, let me tell you a little bit about, you can click a couple times until this slide loads. Let me tell you a little bit about what Clym does. We were founded 25 years ago. We're a Maryland LLC. We've been based in Frederick for more than 24 years. What we do is provide a suite of safety services to folks who are in the life sciences and healthcare industries. And our services array largely falls into one of three buckets. The first we call safety support services. So if you think about regulations that would come from the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, worker protection sorts of things. We have safety professionals that help companies that are going to be using chemicals or biologics or even radioactive materials in life sciences research or development. We help folks develop the policies and procedures necessary to get the appropriate permits and licenses to do that type of work. The second bucket of services is called waste management. So any type of waste that might be generated in a laboratory or at a doctor's place or a healthcare clinic, we have a solution to make sure that we can meet the environmental protection regulations associated with proper disposal of that material. And then the third bucket of services we call decommissioning services. So when a company wants to turn off the permissions to use a chemical or a biological material, they have to decontaminate the space that they did that work in to make sure that that space is safe for other folks to go in there and do types of of non-hazardous work. So we've got a group that does that as well. And the groups work in a related fashion, so we pass off from one to the other. And we're here tonight to talk a little bit about the waste management part of what we do. So we have developed a new technology that treats regulated medical waste. You think about things that are going to be present in a doctor's office's trash can, if you will, like a needle that you might take a shot from, or some gauze that might be used to treat somebody who's got a wound, something like that. That treats this medical waste in a way that's never been done before, it's new and novel, and that does so in a way that's actually environmentally friendly. We've been working on this technology at a facility that we operate in the state of Indiana right now, and we've designed a prototype device that we intend to build, install, and use in the state of Maryland, and we'd like to do so first here in Allegheny County. And it's this technology I want to go over with you quickly here tonight. So ultimately, from the lessons that we have learned from operating this facility in Indiana, we have started what we called a new service that is pioneering sustainable regulated medical waste management. And what's new about that is that we are doing things in a way that, again, are actually sustainable and actually environmentally friendly. I'd like to describe with you, if you click through, some of the things that have been done in the past. So we've submitted a letter of interest to Allegheny County. Again, we want to be supporting the first of its kind in Maryland and the first of its kind in the United States to change the paradigm around regulated medical waste disposal so that we can treat this in a way that better respects the environment, is safer for the folks around which this work is taking place, and also allows us to recycle some of the valuable materials that make up the constituents of this regulated medical waste. We have presented to a number of the folks in the county. Anyone who will listen will stand up and talk to them about this new technology because we're excited about it. And we've been able to get a letter of support from the folks at the county's business development office who would like to see us move forward with this project. Couple of words on regulated medical waste, and I promise I'll be quiet. This is usually the part at social gatherings where my wife will get up and walk away because she has heard things like this over and over again. I find it interesting, but I understand that some folks don't. So ultimately, we're looking at a site in the Frostburg industrial park that's right next to a facility that's been open for a little while now. That's a pet cremation facility. And we stumbled upon this site by blind accident. I happen to know the gentleman who runs this facility. He happened to be working in a place, did similar services in Boonesboro, Maryland, a little bit closer to where our headquarters are. And we had talked about partnering because he takes, dead pets and does his services there, but he also picks up waste from veterinary clinics that would qualify as regulated medical waste. So he wanted to partner with us to take care of that part of his business. And we were looking at doing a deal, and then his company got sold to a larger entity that was trying to roll up a number of pet cremation service facilities. And so I didn't hear from him for a couple of years. And then his name pops up on my cell phone, and he says, well, we bought a place out in Frostburg. I said, well, I want to come see it. And when I went to see him, the contiguous property happened to be vacant. He said, yeah, I hear it's for sale. You should talk to somebody at the county. And we thought, well, this would be a perfect place to put it because when you think about what they do, your pet is a biohazard that has to be properly treated so that it doesn't become a vector for disease. And that's what pet cremation does. We would do largely the same thing, not just with an animal's body, but rather with the residual waste that comes from doing veterinary work or human health care. Thank you. So the proposed site is here. It's about 4.5 acres, I think, Jeff?
446.
446 is right. I saw 46 on something else. It is contiguous to that spot, so it gives us plenty of room for what we would like to do. It would be an initial building, and I'll show you in just a second, that we could orient on the site pretty much anywhere. We don't really have any specifications there. We would just need a pathway for the vehicles bringing the material to get in and to get out. And so we've got a couple of different options on both Hoffman Hollow Road and on Laurel Hill Drive there to think about means of ingress and egress. So inside the green area is where we are now. If you see the topography of the lot, it does tend to drop off a little bit at the edges. We want to leave a green space there. So again, we could keep true to our middle name, which is environmental, so we want to make sure we don't have too much of an impact on the land. But we can locate the facility where the topography seems to be a little bit better suited for a building and where we can have roads coming in and out. So initially, we were anticipating about a 10,000 square foot building to be put on site. There's the opportunity for future expansion. We've got plenty of room to do that. That expansion would be related either to increased recycling equipment that we would put on site, or would be to add office space. We'd add some administrative space in a building that would be separate from where the waste treatment would take place. All the waste that's going to come in is going to be containerized. It is in packages that are approved by the DOT. It's done under the MDE permit for collection of this material. We would have to apply for a permit for the treatment of that material, very similar to the permit that we're currently operating under in Indiana. It's a fully contained system. There are no odors, there's no loud sounds, there's no bright lights associated with it. Everything would take place inside the building. So quickly, a little bit about regulated medical waste. One of the best definitions that I've found to help folks understand what this stuff really is actually comes from the United States Department of Transportation. So they say a regulated medical waste is a waste or reusable material suspected or known to contain an infectious substance. So you think about things that are regulated like human blood, if somebody were to have a hepatitis B infection or whatever, those types of materials would qualify. There are regulations that govern how you have to package this material, how you have to ship it, and how you have to treat it, and we of course would be operating under those permitted requirements. There is an absolutely huge market for this material throughout the world. It's estimated somewhere between $10 to $12 billion annually. So there's a ton of this stuff being generated right now. And what's important about that is the way that it's currently being treated. So when you look at the types of generators that create this waste, you see it coming from hospitals and healthcare. You see it coming from a lot of the folks in the eastern part of our state, where there's a big push for research and development in life sciences and biotech. You see it coming from pharmaceutical production. It's coming from all over the place. Millions of tons are generated each and every year, and the way that this stuff has been dealt with in the past has been exclusively via thermal treatment. So think about incinerators, which went out of fashion in the 1980s and 1990s. And when those went out of fashion, they were largely replaced with autoclaves. So this is a way of steam cooking the biohazard to death, much like you would a crab. You're cooking it so that you're rendering the biohazard non-infectious. But then after that thermal treatment process, you were left with waste that's being pushed into landfills. So you're seeing a significant amount of these millions of tons of waste go to landfill. Thank you. You're getting good at this, by the way. So ultimately, when I think about this process, I go back to, and I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember, in the 1980s when we had syringes washing up on the New Jersey shoreline. And apparently that was unacceptable for the residents of New Jersey who were taking their families to the beach, and I happen to agree with them. That's when we had the Regulated Medical Waste Management Act come from the EPA and said, look, we've got to do something about this. We need to regulate this process. When that was started, the paradigm that was created was what I call the 3 T's. You transport the stuff from wherever it was generated, you treat it with a thermal treatment process, and then you trash the residual by getting rid of it in a landfill. We've been doing that exact same thing for 40 years, and no one has bothered to change. Clym is here to try to make a difference in our lifetime. So your environmental impacts are absolutely significant. Even when you moved from incineration to autoclave, the impacts remain the same. There's no recycling of the materials that are located in this medical waste. The vast majority we have found to be plastics, from single-use plastics. Landfills are filling up with the treated medical waste that's coming from these processes. It is estimated, when you look at MDE's website and some of the data that they provide, that for every 1 million pounds of regulated medical waste that's treated via one of these thermal processes I'm talking about, there are over 500 metric tons of greenhouse gas equivalent gases produced. Given that there are millions of tons being produced each and every year, this is a huge environmental insult. And it's an insult that the state of Maryland is suffering under right now. So we think we need a better treatment alternative to be able to deal with this problem. We think we have that better treatment alternative. So our process uses ozone to treat the regulated medical waste. Ozone is naturally occurring. If you hit the button a couple times, we'll get a couple things to show up here. It's naturally occurring. You've probably heard about the ozone layer that protects Earth from ultraviolet rays. There's also naturally occurring ozone that is created each time you have a thunderstorm, or there's a lightning strike. Ozone is created by breaking oxygen molecules apart. What's interesting about what we do is we create ozone from ambient air. We strip out the nitrogen, we break the oxygen molecules apart, the oxygen reforms as ozone, which is one of the most powerful oxidants found in Earth. One of the metrics that I found was particularly interesting is it disinfects biohazards 3,000 times faster than chlorine. If you've ever been in a chlorinated pool and opened your eyes and felt how powerful that is, you know what that means. So we can use this naturally created ozone to destroy the biohazard. What's interesting about that is ozone naturally breaks apart because it's weakly bonded. And the byproduct of ozone breaking apart is either single atomic or diatomic oxygen. The only emission from our process is oxygen. Nobody else can say that. Everybody else has a hazardous emission associated with what they do. We call our process O3 PureMed. In short, we create ozone from ambient air using commercially available ozone generators. The ozone is presented to the pathogens. It destroys the pathogens in a matter of minutes. We shred the material to allow the ozone to have easier access to all of the different angles of the material, so that reduces the waste volume by 70 to 90%. There's no hazardous emissions associated with it. The ozone reverts to oxygen. And one of the best parts is now the material is available for sorting, and we can reclaim the valuable materials that are in there via recycling, so we can pull out the plastics and metals and beneficially reuse those. So just to recap, and you can click through these, safe operation will be guaranteed by an MDE permit. MDE will come and inspect us on a periodic basis. The facility that we operate in Indiana that uses a similar older technology, we've operated for 4 years. We've never had a notice of violation. We get inspected every quarter there. So we've got proven safe operation. It's proven efficacy. We have to sample each batch that we treat to make sure that we've properly treated it. We don't use a bunch of energy. We don't use a bunch of water that's associated with some of these autoclaves. No hazardous emissions, there's no high temperature, so we don't melt the plastic. That means the plastic can be sorted and retained. We can recycle that material. We can eliminate the use of landfills for processed materials. And we can reduce greenhouse gas emissions by over 500% when compared to thermal treatment processes. This is the future of regulated medical waste treatment. It will change the world for the better in our lifetime. What about the plastics? When you look at a container of waste in a research laboratory, it looks like this. If you've not been in a research laboratory, that may be alien products to you, but all of that material is single-use, high-value plastic. It makes up between 70 and 85% of this waste stream. If we can pull that plastic back out and sort it, we can recycle it such that we don't need to make new plastics anymore. We can beneficially reuse the plastics that already exist on our planet. That allows us to approach true plastic circularity, which would be a first of its time in either life sciences, biotech, or healthcare settings. So our process cycle takes bagged waste. You maybe have seen these red bags in your doctor's office. We shred the material and treat it with ozone, which results in this confetti-like flake material. After it's been effectively treated, we can mechanically sort it by resin type, and we can sort it by resin type such that it gets into these different beads, which can then be purchased at the market to become something new in plastic. In short, we let the market dictate what the plastic will become next, rather than trying to be predictive or force that plastic on the market. Different types of materials are going to sort differently. Some are going to have some acceptable types of contaminants, when contaminant means a different resin than was originally intended. You see that in the colors here. Others are going to be more pure and pristine depending upon what your end feed is. So your degrees of plastic and the value of that plastic will vary from time to time. So this is paradigm shifting. Here's a picture of our facility. It's a little under 10,000 square feet in Indiana, but we would build something similar on the lot that we're talking about now. We would treat this material better, meaning safer, still efficacious, but now environmentally friendly. We would look to make Allegheny County one of the folks who are actually leading the way in recovering valuable plastics. So we'd be a plastics recycler, sort of charting a new path. We would also increase recycling of metals. We'd eliminate the landfill of this material, and we could beneficially take non-target material, like ordinary combustible materials, to use in a waste-to-energy plant. So we could also help folks who are either operating incinerators that were waste energy or clean kilns, so we could give them the feedstock so we wouldn't have to rely on landfills whatsoever. So that's what we're up to. We're pretty excited about this. We were one of the 3 finalists for the Maryland Tech Council's Emerging Technology Companies of the Year. We came up second this go round. Our goal is to get invited back next year and see if we can't win that thing. But that's what we're up to. That's why we wanted to take a minute of your time to tell you what we're doing, to see if you had any questions about our process or how we would use this property if you chose to support us in changing the zoning to allow this work to take place.
I just missed the non-target materials. What were you referring to there?
So that would be things like the barrier protective nitrile gloves, things like cardboard, things that wouldn't be plastic that could be segregated but still could be used as a feedstock for incineration. Okay,
In another facility.
I'm sorry.
You said for incineration, and that would be at a separate
Yeah,
facility.
absolutely, yeah. That'd be a commercial facility. Correct.
But you would be disinfecting prior to.
We disinfect everything, right, before we get to recycle everything. Yep.
That's the other part too, like the cardboard, paper, or something like that we made, and we're trying to develop these circular economies in the county. We have other folks, potential users that could even take that small segment of what you're treating, that you wouldn't be using from that point, could develop synergies with other companies.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you for hearing us out. We appreciate the time.
So Bethany, what are we looking to do here?
We are looking for a favorable recommendation to the Board of Zoning Appeals, in the permitted uses in the TLI district. It doesn't specifically make provisions for really any kind of recycling facility. However, you are empowered to grant a favorable recommendation for any use that you feel would be appropriate in the district.
But as I understand it, they're gonna have to come back at some point in time and present stormwater management plans
Yes.
and construction site and all that sort of stuff.
Yes, so this is step one. After this, they would go before the Board of Zoning Appeals. And then after that, the site plan would be developed, and then that would come back to you for preliminary and
All
final
that
review.
sort of stuff.
Yeah, and obviously the county supports this, and I know this, not only the first of its
Please.
kind.
Don't twist my arm.
Okay.
Please go up and
Yes,
tell us
Jeff
your name.
Barclay. I'm
Okay.
the Director of Economic and Community Development for Allegheny County.
Okay.
My address, 701 Kelly Road, there is where we do business. But again, the story was explained about how we've come to know the company, and the process is very fascinating. And of course, we think it's not only a big win for Allegheny County, but also for Frostburg, the city of Frostburg as well, in choosing that site. We like the fact that it's not an impact to the neighbors. And again, we just a few weeks ago, less than a month ago, I guess, we had the first domino fell in this circular economy sector that we're seeming to get a lot of interest from. And Wholesome Geocycle has filled in the Barton Shell Building in Rawlings, Maryland, and that's what I'm kind of mentioning is, they're doing an alternative fuel based off of different materials that they shred and mix, and they have it, proprietary mixture. And even again, what did you say the things that you aren't treating, it's only like what 10% or so that those materials could also be used by other companies that are actually going to be in the area, which I thought we were all thinking is a fantastic thing too. But, yeah, we're hoping for a favorable result, and this is just kind of the concept plan at this point. And as Bethany explained, we would have other steps and processes of developing those plans. And right now, I think the company is kind of open-minded as to how the site's laid out, but we'll definitely get a civil engineer on board kind of thing, and we'll work out those plans and come back. Thank you.
Discussion, I think the only, one thought would be access. I think access would probably be better off Laurel Hill Drive. If we're bringing tractor trailer, I'm not sure what size of vehicles are coming, but having the access off of that instead of off Hoffman Hollow Road.
I should
mean,
mention
that would
it.
probably
I
be,
mentioned it.
go ahead, Jeff, come on.
Jeff, coming back.
right.
We've talked about this in Laurelhurst. Yeah, we
Yeah.
said that that's the best way to come
Right.
in. Definitely for ingress is what we were thinking about. There could be a possibility if they end up with a circular type of motion,
Yeah.
that it could come out potentially at Hoffman.
I
Ask
don't
our
think that
engineer.
would be a problem.
Yeah.
But
My thought was more getting off.
yeah,
so you
but
don't have trucks
we
lined up
definitely
or
made the
sitting.
point that we don't want any tractor trailer traffic
Yeah.
using Laurelhurst or Hoffman,
Yeah.
that they'll go back out Village Parkway the way they came in. Back to the interstate. Thank you.
Yeah, I really don't see this use much different than a combination of medical laboratories and manufacturing. So,
I'm with you.
yeah, I mean, we don't specifically give it a principal permitted use under section B, but when we look at special exceptions, part 6, any use of structure approved to the satisfaction of the Board of Zoning Appeals be the same general character to the above permitted uses. And I think the way that the process has been described, to me, I'm picturing combination of 2 or 3 of these permitted uses. So I have no problem with making a favorable recommendation to the Board of Zoning Appeals for this.
Yeah, I don't think, as you said, I don't think it meets comes to where we actually need to issue a special exemption.
I don't even think we do either.
Yeah, I think it meets the requirements somewhere within the TLI.
Yeah.
Anybody?
I'm in agreement
with you.
Yeah. I'd make a motion, well, maybe we should ask them this, have them pull the special exception request and just ask them for a preliminary determination by the board. Right now, we can give them it's our opinion that it meets the TLI.
Sure.
So, I mean, Derek,
Want to make a recommendation? You want to make a motion?
we should ask them first
okay.
before, I mean, if they want to pull their application, because we can't really we can't say we approve this under TLI. We can go through all the discussion and everything with it, but we can't approve it because that's not what they requested.
Right. Okay.
So it's just a procedure thing.
Do you understand where we're headed?
Yeah, it's kind of like, instead of going for a special exception,
Right.
you're saying that.
You're principally
anything
permitted.
Under existing zoning,
Yeah, we.
Right.
under the TL, or, yeah.
Yeah.
TLI.
Right.
Zoning, and so, yeah, I would recommend that you withdraw as it's presented and just go for a favorable
Recommendation.
recommendation under current zoning.
I agree, generally I plead ignorance when it comes to all things, so thank you for knowing what you know. The only thing I would question would be that, when you use the word waste, sometimes people go right to a certain point and they stay there. And so I don't know if that would be something that might disqualify from that. But if not, then we'd be more than willing to pull this and take that determination.
Yeah. I will
It's
share.
a process.
Yeah, it's
It-
processing.
I mean, it's
You're processing.
you're you're not manufacturing a new product, but you are.
Adding
You-
value
yeah.
add. This is the same sort of thing that's happened with Geocycle, and when they applied for their permit through MDE, they ran into a little bit of a snag that took a length of time, because when they applied, they said this truly isn't a waste.
Right.
We're adding value back to a raw material that can be used,
Yeah.
which is alternative fuel in their case. So MDE, actually, it's a new permit for them.
Yeah.
I was wondering how they're handling this, because this doesn't fall under their normal solid
And so
waste.
this is the first one, Geocycle is the first of its kind.
Interesting.
Yeah, you can, since you sit on that board.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can I make a quick comment?
Sure.
Tell
I'll
me
be very
who you are.
brief. My name is Adam Stroud. I'm the Economic Development Specialist for Allegheny County, 701 Kelly Road. I'm also a member of the Solid Waste Management Board for Allegheny County. It was the Solid Waste Management Board's determination in approving Geocycle's permit, or from the county side, from MDE, that the types of materials that were going in, while could be considered waste because they were off-spec plastics, the fact that value was being added to said materials and there was a market, an aftermarket where they're being used, essentially made them raw materials instead of waste. So that's any indication for say, a manufacturing designation, we could look at it in partially in that way as well, as raw material rather than waste. So, that's all.
So, I mean, if they're willing to withdraw formally, then I'm willing to make a recommendation that we accept this under the TLI as a principal permitted use.
I have a motion to, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we give these people permission to go ahead with their project, basically. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Congratulations, gentlemen.
Wish you all the best
Good
of
luck.
luck.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. First Congregational Church.
Conrad, I need to
Yeah.
excuse myself on this. I'm a member of the church.
I figured it's such
Well, I might want to pull on his experience.
Oh, no.
That'll cost you.
Sure it will. Pastor Ken Hamilton, First Congregational Church, 103 Bowery Street, Frostburg, Maryland. What we're seeking is an exemption from the zoning of where the church is located. I believe we're a C1 zoning. We're looking to install an electronic messaging sign. Our former sign was destroyed during the wind event in March that took the side off of the Frostburg Fire Department. It toppled our older sign that had been there since the 70s. And I'd like to thank you all for letting us appear before you. I'd like to thank Bethany for helping guide us through this process. The previous sign was approximately 48 by 5 foot. It was brick and wood. It had 6 25-watt LED bulbs that illuminated it at night. It was on a timer that turned it on and off. Those 6 25-watt LED bulbs, from what I can calculate, come out to about 15,000 lumens at night. And the reason I state that is we're going to get into the brightness of the LED sign for the area that the church is located. The reason we want to go with the electronic messaging is technology. Instead of somebody having to go out in the nice Frostburg weather of minus 20 degrees and 2 foot of snow on the ground, we can do it remotely by computer. We can change the sign. We can put graphics on the sign. Also for safety reasons, so that we don't have people out there at night trying to change it, considering the area that we are located in. And we all know the problems that we've had down in that area. The weather I mentioned, the remote ability, we can make the message much longer compared to what we were using. It was the little metal letters that we had to clip on, so we were limited on to how much information we could give. And quite often, to be truthful with you, we would put a message on in there and leave it for months. The daylight nits is the way Western Maryland Signs has given it to us. I converted the nits over to lumens, so we're kind of talking the same language here. The daylight nits is 7,000. So lumens, that comes out to about 23,000 lumens during the day. At night, it will automatically reduce down to 700 nits, which is 2,398 lumens. An average street light is 5,000 lumens, so it will be less bright than an average street light. The position that we're going to put it in was the former position of the sign that was toppled, so it will not be looking down the street where it would distract the driver. It will be facing towards the street. I believe FSU, since they're just a block up the street from us, has their big stone FSU sign. I believe that is illuminated. I don't know what the lumens are on that, but they're just a block away. And as I mentioned, the street lights are around 5,000 average lumens. So I don't feel this is going to be detrimental to the community. And in some ways, it's going to be better for the community because they'll know, what the church is planning to do. We can put messages out over it for events that we're holding, even events that are taking place in the city of Frostburg. So I'm open for questions. Do they have a mock-up of it?
Yes.
They do, okay.
Yes, we do.
And commissioners, if I could draw your attention, it's not in your packet proper, but there's a stapled sheet that's at the very back of your packets. And if you flip on the back of the first page, I've highlighted section C that has to do with our electronic messaging centers. And then on page, I guess it would be 3 of this stapled sheet, you can see the requirements that we offer for other zoning districts where these signs are permitted. So I would need kind of a recommendation on, if you do choose to make this favorable recommendation, I would also need a recommendation on the motion limitation, if any, or things like that.
I'm sorry, what was that?
If you look on this chart here, you'll see in C2, C4, and TLI where these types of signs currently are permitted.
Right.
There are motion limitations for how quickly the image can change on the screen. So I would ask for a recommendation on that as well. That can be forwarded to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
It hasn't been specified what they would be, what they would be using? The rapidity or whatever?
That would be determined by this commission.
Okay. This is more to me.
Yes, and our, section 7 of our zoning ordinance does state that any request for variances to any kind of sign, that would come before this commission and also the Board of Zoning Appeals. So,
You had mentioned that you'd typically leave a sign up for weeks or months at a time, so the rapidity of the motion may not matter too much if they have the same message up there for weeks or
I
days.
think what she's talking about is how fast it actually goes across.
Yeah.
So it
With
wouldn't be
screen.
just like a picture or like
No.
a stationary with
Yeah.
words or sentences.
Like it would be, like you have here with the 3 crosses on Calvary.
Right.
Good Friday service, 7 p.m. and the date.
And those would all like
And
move.
keep cycling
It
through
would
it.
keep cycling. It wouldn't just.
Potentially that would, but if that was the only part of the message, then it would not.
Right.
Now on Easter Sunday, I may put up something that says, "He is risen, come worship with us," and then that would scroll slowly, because people coming up Bowery Street are not gonna have a whole lot of time to do this.
Right. Because what I was getting at is if it was a fixed message, that wouldn't really change, or the motion wouldn't matter because it's just stationary. But if you're,
I think one of the things that the points he's making is that now that they would have a changeable sign, they wouldn't have a sign out
right,
there
they could do,
that was there for
yeah.
months at a time.
I have no problem recommending an exemption to the zoning for this type of sign. But I can't say that I have, and I don't feel qualified to specify.
The speed, they changed it, the speed, motion limitation.
And there aren't any private residences across the street, I can't see it being a nuisance.
There are residences across the street.
Most of them are college.
Yeah,
Right.
it's rental.
Both of them currently are for sale.
I was thinking there was that restaurant.
Question, is in your conversation with the sign company, is the brightness of the sign, can you vary the brightness of the sign?
It automatically drops at night down to 700 so that it's not gonna,
Okay,
Light up
that was my
somebody's
thought
house.
process. Okay.
I know the county always, the brightness
Yeah,
at night is
yeah.
a big deal, and nobody wants flashing lights.
Right,
Right.
yeah, so you'd rather have it just
yeah,
stationary?
LaVale Baptist is installing one. I don't know if they had to go through you all.
They would've.
They would've, yeah. They're
It
installing
would've
one.
went through our permits office, but not directly our EKB or office. Yeah. I used to work in the permits office, that's why I know that the big thing is it dims at night.
Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't flash.
And it's not facing down the road, so it's not, the driver's not gonna be looking
Yeah.
directly at it.
Anybody knows shooters there, and part of their controls keep malfunctioning, and then at nighttime, they get the full brightness, like that. Like state highway has to do it.
Yeah.
What, it's blending
Oh, it's
to
horrible.
try?
Yeah.
At nighttime sometimes, and they get it fixed, and then it's fine, and the next thing you know, something happens, and then it's back to like the full daytime brightness at night, which is weird.
Bethany,
I
on this
think,
motion,
I think the slow, either the 8-second or the 4-second would be better. Just, there's people, it wouldn't be as distracting for drivers.
Personally, I would do the 4 seconds so they have more time to read it.
Seeing how that, the C1's up, a little more restrictive, let's go with the idea of a 4-second.
Okay.
And if you look at number 4, it's required to have the automatic dimming. So that's already set in regs. So, and then the question is do we set a size limitation? If you look at C2, do you follow the same rule, and let's just go with 4 seconds, 30% and 70%?
Yeah.
For discussion,
yeah. So what you're basically proposing is that they're in C1 and give them the same criteria for a C2.
correct.
Okay.
So you said 4
So,
seconds.
so if you look at basically, you don't have a copy of this?
No, I don't.
You can have mine. So, we're discussing this, so this is the requirement for C2.
Okay.
So let's just set these same requirements for this exception. You can have it.
The total sign area is square footage?
Yeah, and I take that as
Or
I
the
believe
sign?
that is the area where the words are when you, that
Okay.
is how's that word again?
Yeah.
The EMC is the electronic message changeable.
BMC, visual message communication.
Yeah.
So it's
Chair, we're
48
indicating-
square feet.
What's
Is
that?
That's what it was, 48 square feet for C2.
I don't know, I gave mine away.
C2, it has 120.
Yeah.
Well, not adjacent to
Okay.
Main Street.
Because again, I think even under this, when you look at the, away from the residential and confined to the main street, both either street technically could be the main street there. Either Bowery or Center, or I'm sorry, College. And in essence, we are away from residential at the location. To me, it's back up against the building.
I mean, it's not like it's gonna be bothering somebody while they're sleeping at night. It's-
Chair would entertain a favorable recommendation on this project.
I'll make a motion that we give a favorable recommendation and we follow the C2 guidelines.
Do I have a second to that motion?
May I ask
Second.
a clarification question, super quick?
Yeah.
Where it says away from residential, would you consider that to be, it must be outside of the front yard setback? Is that appropriate? In C1, give me 1 second. Pastor Ken, do you know how far, setback from the property line this is proposed? I know that it's set back pretty far, but do you know the
It's
exact?
actually behind our front steps
Yeah.
and in
Okay.
line with the front porch of the church, so yeah, it's set back.
Okay, okay.
And it's gonna be facing Bowery.
Yes.
Okay.
We already had electricity going to that
Right.
spot, so we're just gonna hook into that 110 line and then hook into the church's Wi-Fi to make the changes.
So the minimum front yard in the C1 district is 20 feet, so, I wasn't
I
sure.
believe it's gotta be more than 20 feet.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
But do I have a second?
Leave Karen.
I second.
Okay. Moved and seconded that we approve the project. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Catch tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay. Any items for discussion by the chair or members of the commission? Okay, we're down to administrative business. Your bailiwick.
Okay, so, for those of you who have not heard, I've been appointed the Director of Community Development as of June 20th. So, we will be hiring, or we are currently looking to hire a planning and zoning specialist. We are advertising that position now. We've gotten some really good responses, which is great. And we're continuing to collect applications until noon on Monday, the 17th. So that's this coming Monday. Once that person is hired, they will begin training to take over this board, the Board of Zoning Appeals, and possibly the Historic District Commission. But it'll be a pretty lengthy transition period. I'll still be here for at least a year. It's a lot to learn, for someone new, so. And then we also, Commissioner Duncan submitted a letter of resignation for this commission. And actually, a few days later, I realized that I had forgotten to take the posting down from when we were recruiting, when Eric came on board. So someone happened to reach out, and that person will be appointed at this month's mayor and council meeting. So they will be officially joining for our August meeting.
Good. Great. What are the hours of the training on the 19th?
That's 1 to 4 p.m.
Okay, and that's in City Place, right?
at City Place.
Do we have to sign up for that, or is that through
I think that they are requesting RSVPs just so they know how to plan for refreshments and things like that.
Okay.
But I'm sure they would welcome drop-ins. When I spoke with Joe Griffiths from MPCA today, they only had 11 people regionally that had signed up, so.
Well, has host city, is there anything that you're doing to assist with this, or is this all Maryland?
Yes, so Hayden Lindsay, the Public Works Director, Brian Vogt, and I will all be speaking about our respective planning roles. So Hayden will be speaking about infrastructure planning, Brian will be talking about kind of parks and recreation planning, and then I'll be speaking on preservation planning.
Do you need any assistance from the board or from us?
if anyone would like to talk about what it's like to be a citizen planner here, that would be fantastic. If anyone's available or willing, just get in touch with me and I can make things happen.
Okay, looks like you have one other item here on the agenda.
Yes, I don't know if this is an actual staff report, but I just wanted to notify you all that, the parcel at 157 West First Street, it's kind of this strange L shape, and then it has this little tiny parcel inside of it that's about 1,600 square feet. The same person owns both of these parcels, and then his primary residence is right here. He is looking to construct a small residential unit with a garage on it, but in order to do that per our zoning ordinance, the lot lines had to be dissolved before he could build on that. So, I just wanted to let you know that that took place.
Yeah, that's,
That used to be one lot to begin with, correct?
at one time, yeah. Actually, where is it? 65, that might have been actually more than one lot to begin with.
Yeah.
There was a house on that at one time. I
Yeah,
know
but-
that, yeah.
That, in that area, the regular lots vary from 25 feet wide to 50 feet. So I said it's probably 2 or 3 of the original city lots put together then sold as one lot. 65 feet is not a common lot size. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the way this was set up was so we didn't have to approve anything. It all came to you and you just, for the record, submitted it.
Yeah, I was just
That way,
letting
if there
you
was
know.
an issue, it could be brought up and discussed.
Yes.
Okay,
That
fine.
was one of the smart things we did.
Yeah, but it is all vacant right now. It's a vacant lot.
Yes, it's a vacant.
Yeah.
I think there is there might be a shed somewhere right here.
It's got a
I think
garage in the
there's
back, doesn't it? Like a little garage.
Something
It-
like
it
that. There's
changes
a little
every month.
parking pad.
Every time I drive by.
What was that comment?
I said it changes every time I drive by, I think.
Oh,
There's a shed on it, and then there's no shed, and then there's trailers parked all over it.
Yeah, that's
Then
exactly.
there's
the
a
same lot I'm thinking
basketball
of.
court
oh.
and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
So, oh, that's good. It's good to see someone building.
All right then. Anything else? All right, let's adjourn then at 7:59. 7:53. I have, I don't know how it works.
That was a quick one.
Yeah, that's
Well,
good.
we actually